Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to break down artificial intelligence into something you can actually build and use yourself. Look, if you've ever felt like AI is just this totally unapproachable, mystical technology that's strictly reserved for tech billionaires and giant supercomputers, well, you're definitely not alone. But today, we're looking at a brilliant masterclass series by instructor Paul McWhorter, and he takes this wonderfully pragmatic, super hands-on approach to AI. We're going to completely clear away the fog and learn how to actually harness this tech, literally right from your own desk. Now, the intimidation around AI gatekeeping, it's incredibly real. As McWhorter perfectly points out, the AI industry kind of acts like a secret priesthood, right? They've got this arsenal of 100 magic buzzwords, things like deep neural networks, cafe models, TensorFlow. And honestly, the most frustrating part is that whenever they try to define one of those magic words, they end up using 3 other magic words to do it. So you just end up going in circles, totally locked out of the learning process. Well, our goal today is to break past that gatekeeping entirely. But hey, before we start bypassing that secret priesthood, our source notes, there's an absolute first prerequisite. You're going to need a strong, straight-up black iced coffee just to get focused. No sugar, no sweetener. I know it sounds kind of funny, but there's a really good lesson here about setting your environment and your mindset. We are stripping away the fluff, the sugarcoating, the proprietary frameworks, the whole shebang. We're going straight to the core of what works, and we absolutely need raw focus to do that. Section 1. A common sense AI definition. See, we really don't need an MIT PhD in computer science to understand artificial intelligence. We just need a baseline we can all agree on. Think about traditional computers. They execute logical instructions perfectly, lightning fast. If you tell a computer, hey, x equals 3, y equals 2, print x plus y, it handles that flawlessly, but it can't think. Artificial intelligence, on the other hand, is what happens when a computer actually starts doing things you'd normally associate with a person. For example, if you hand a picture to a 3-year-old, they can naturally just point right to the cats and the dogs. Traditional logic completely fails at that. But AI is when a computer can look at that exact same picture and effortlessly draw a circle around the cats. Let's think about how this progression builds in the real world when you're talking to your machine. Step 1, the computer just turns your spoken audio sounds into a string of text letters, which sure is impressive, but it's really just transcription. But then comes step 2. It starts discerning your actual intent. It realizes those words are structured as a question. And finally, step 3, it goes out, fetches the current weather in Albuquerque, and reads it right back to you. Going from just hearing sounds to actually discerning intent, that right there is the tipping point where a program becomes artificially intelligent. Section 2, Real-World AI Magic. So, to get our hands dirty with real-world applications, instead of just getting bogged down in endless theory, you really don't need a supercomputer. A highly accessible tech stack is just a standard Windows 10 PC, a basic Logitech webcam, the Python programming language, and the open-source OpenCV library. And that's literally it. Now, you might be wondering why this specific stack. Well, because it standardizes everything. If we all use this baseline, we actually spend our time learning artificial intelligence, instead of wasting hours trying to figure out why some proprietary webcam driver is crashing on a Mac or a Linux board. Here's some perspective. If we actually tried to build a deep neural network entirely from a blank piece of paper, our source estimates it would take 50 grueling lessons just to teach a computer to recognize the handwritten digits 0 through 9. I mean, sure, it's a fascinating intellectual exercise, but let's be real. By lesson 3, most of us would have just quit out of sheer boredom. We want to start doing incredible things immediately. So instead of reinventing the wheel, we use pre-trained models. These are pre-existing AI frameworks that have already been trained on literally millions of images using massive, highly expensive parallel processors. Big tech companies have already poured hundreds of thousands of computational hours into these things. And the best part? We can just freely download them. Once we have them, we can tweak them, we can retrain them for our own custom tasks. We get to skip the tedious part and jump straight into the fun stuff. And the application code is actually remarkably simple. In just about 10 lines of Python code, we can create a basic loop. Step 1, read a video frame from the webcam. Step 3, show that frame on the screen. Now, because video runs at about 30 frames per second, we have exactly 1/30th of a second between reading and showing. And for a modern computer, that 1/30th of a second is basically near infinite computing time. So that middle step, step 2, that is where we put the real AI mischief. This is where we can run algorithms to detect facial landmarks, track the exact XY coordinates of your hand joints, or even calculate the distance between your finger and your eye right in real time. And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute power of tweaking those pre-trained models. Our source, Paul McWhorter, gives this hilarious real-world example. So he has a major problem with these highly intelligent monkeys breaking into his garden and stealing his corn. And since monkeys have large cerebral cortexes and thumbs, they are seriously formidable opponents. But using this exact OpenCV stack, you could literally take a pre-trained AI model that was originally meant for visually tracking a coffee cup on your desk and just retrain it to track the monkeys in the garden. How cool is that? But hey, why just track them when you can actually react to them? The ultimate vision of this explainer is bridging this powerful Python software over to the physical world using an Arduino microcontroller. Just think about this loop. The Arduino gets real-world sensor data, it sends it to Python, which then runs the heavy artificial intelligence processing. Python makes a decision like, hey, there is a monkey, and it sends a command straight back down to the Arduino, which then activates physical servos, relays, and actuators to take real-world countermeasures. So your AI code just physically moved hardware. Section 3. Taming the Python environment. Now, obviously, before we can track those monkeys and start moving hardware, we have to learn to actually control our own computers. It happens to literally everyone. You try to run Python version 3.9 for your shiny new AI project, but Windows mysteriously executes version 3.7 instead. Why? Well, it all comes down to environmental path variables. When you type Python into the command line, Windows basically blindly searches its system settings from top to bottom. It's just going to execute the very first Python folder it encounters. If the old version is at the top of that list, well, that's what runs. Understanding this hierarchy means you finally stop letting your computer dictate terms to you. By using some very specific commands in PowerShell, we can dictate exactly which version runs. So instead of rearranging path variables every single day, you can just type py-3.9 to force the newer Python, or use pip 3.7 install to force a new library specifically into the older version. This is absolutely crucial because AI relies heavily on bleeding-edge libraries. If an installation goes wrong, you really want it isolated. Controlling your versions and your environments is what keeps your whole system from totally corrupting. Section 4. AI benefits, risks, and Mambas. Look, no foundational lesson on a technology this powerful is really complete without acknowledging the severe risks involved, both in tech and, well, out in nature. Our source shares a truly terrifying anecdote that really puts risk into perspective. He actually woke up to a massive, highly deadly black mamba snake right outside his bedroom window. To put that in perspective, if a black mamba bites you, you've got roughly 30 minutes before your diaphragm just stops working and you die. And he was 3.5 hours away from the nearest antivenom. He points out the absolute irony of looking up internet advice that tells you to stay calm and safely relocate a black mamba. You know, sometimes you are dealing with something that is incredibly powerful and inherently dangerous, and you just have to treat it with the ultimate respect. But whether you're facing down a literal black mamba or just dealing with the incredibly frustrating, hair-pulling agony of debugging your foundational code setups, the key advice here remains exactly the same. Do not just fold up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. When your AI model absolutely won't run or your webcam keeps crashing, please don't just copy someone else's code just to impress your friends. Power through the problem. When you struggle, when you fail, and when you finally figure it out, that is when the real learning actually happens. So I want to leave you with a bit of an assignment for today. I want you to weigh the 3 greatest potential ways that artificial intelligence could fundamentally improve humanity and weigh those against its 3 biggest existential threats. Really write them down. Think deeply about them. When you look at that incredible balance of immense power and severe risk, you have to decide for yourself, is this technological journey ultimately worth it? That wraps up our explainer for today. Dive in, stay incredibly focused, and whatever you do, don't fold up like a lawn chair.